Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Legal Hands to the Face show with Bill Colarulo on this wonderful Victory Monday. What a game. I'm still not relaxed after that game last night. This Philadelphia Eagles team, man, they're taking years off of our lives, but they keep winning football games. 10-1, and all they do is win. And we're going to talk about it all tonight here on the Legal Hands to the Face show. We got a great show scheduled for tonight. We're going to break down the Eagles-Bills. I'm going to try to keep it positive to start the show because we need to enjoy this because we are seeing things that we have never seen as a Philadelphia Eagles fan. And really, the NFL has never seen what this Eagles team is doing week after week. So we will keep it positive in the beginning, but there is a lot to talk about. There's a lot of areas for improvement. I know a lot of fans are upset about the play calling. I know a lot of fans are upset about the defense, the game plan. So we're going to get into it all. So I'll keep it positive in the beginning, but then we are going to get into this game plan, this play calling, this defense, which needs to be better as well. And then we're going to turn our focus to the San Francisco 49ers. It's finally here. When the schedule came out, a lot of people had this game circled on that schedule, and it is finally here. And we'll bring in Dr. Chris Radcliffe. We're hoping to get Dr. Radcliffe tonight. He may be in the hospital, so hopefully his Wi-Fi works. I want to talk to him about some of these injuries. Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox, Zach Cunningham. Word is Dallas Goedert's going to try to play this weekend. So we got a lot to talk about tonight, a great show. I'm going to take you all the way up to the 8 o'clock hour, little Monday night football tonight. Vikings are back in action, so we'll talk about it all. But let's get a little roll call in the chat. See some of my crew here already checking in. Xavier Spencer with a what up 10-1 Eagles. Rich McClatchy in the house. Jay Koch is ready to talk. The OC is trash. He's ready to get negative right away. We'll get there, Jay. I promise. The real RMP, that was a great game. Good win. Got to stay building up for Sunday. Barbara Carroll, good evening. How are you? Thanks for checking in. Cobra, the Eagles are horrible. Oh, boy. Getting negative already. Well, I want to try to keep it a little bit positive to start. But, guys, if you are listening to the podcast, because we do upload this to the audio, just know this is being simulcast on the Legal Hands to the Face YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, Bill Colarulo, as well as across the JAKIB Sports network. So if you hear me talking to people in the chat, that is because we are doing a live show. But if you're listening on the podcast, give us a like, give us a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening. If you guys are here watching on YouTube, give me a like, give me a subscribe, make sure you're hitting that share button. And if you're not already following me on Instagram, make sure at the end of the show you head over to Legal Hands to the Face, Bill Colarulo on Twitter. We're posting multiple pieces of content every day on nothing but Philadelphia Eagles. And a reminder, we also host the Philly Sports Power Hour right here on the JAKIB Sports Network every day, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And it's good to see some of my Power Hour crew checking in. Mike Tobin already in, talking about hoping to see running game start in the first quarter before his heart explodes. All right, we're going to get there because I know everybody wants to get to the improvements, but let's take a second to enjoy this Philadelphia Eagles win because it was an unbelievable win. Really, at the end of that first half, it looked like this game was over. But if we have learned anything about Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, and this Philadelphia Eagles team, it's to never stop watching because you know they're going to play until the final whistle. And you talk about resiliency. This team's down 10 at halftime. And I'm sure you've seen the stats. Jalen Hurts at the half, 4 for 11, 33 yards, 2 turnovers, and a passer rating of 7. That's not a mistake. A passer rating of 7. Bad weather. Every excuse in the book, if you want to throw out excuses, it was a short week. They were coming off of a road game on a Monday night in Kansas City. They just had an emotional win against the Kansas City Chiefs. You throw in the Thanksgiving holiday. You throw in the fact that the San Francisco 49ers were the next game. Were they looking past the Buffalo Bills? You got bad weather. You find out the morning of the game that your all-pro right tackle wakes up with groin soreness. He can't go. You got Fletcher Cox hurts his groin in the game. Zach Cunningham hurts his hamstring in the game. You were already without Dallas Goedert, already without Milton Williams. All of these excuses. Jalen Hurts doesn't look good in the first half. The play calling was bad in the first half, and I know everybody wants to talk about that. We will get there. But they battle back. They're down by 10 in the fourth quarter. And then this team does what they do. They turn it on. Eagles actually took the lead with 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter on that great play to Olamide Zaccheaus. And we're going to talk about OZ later on in the show. But a great play, great rollout by Jalen Hurts, playing schoolyard football at that point. Points to OZ, tells him to go deep, throws a great pass. OZ makes the catch. Eagles go up 28-24. And we're thinking, oh, man, they're going to do it. Well, it's not over yet. Buffalo Bills march right down the field, take the lead on a touchdown, making it 31-28. There's only 1 minute, 52 seconds left on the clock. But did anybody doubt that Jalen Hurts was going to bring this team down to tie it up? And this is what I talked about a little bit last week. Everybody was making the excuse that the only reason why this Philadelphia Eagles team beat the Kansas City Chiefs last week was because Van Scalding drops that ball that Patrick Mahomes threw. Well, if you remember correctly, there was about 1 minute and 45 seconds left on the clock. If that ball gets caught in Kansas City, Eagles would have been down 3 with 1 minute 45 left. Well, they found themselves in that exact situation, 1:52 left on the clock, down by 3. Jalen Hurts takes them down the field. They would have liked to have been a little bit closer. Back-to-back false start penalties on Jason Kelce. Who saw that coming? When was the last time, if ever, did you see back-to-back false starts on not only a center, but the best center in the league, future Hall of Famer, Jason Kelce? But it didn't matter because the most clutch kicker in Philadelphia Eagles history comes walking out. And I said this morning on the Philly Sports Power Hour, and I'll say it again, not taking anything away from David Akers. David Akers was a great kicker for this team for many years. One of the best to ever do it in this town. But Jake Elliott is the most clutch kicker I have ever seen in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform. All he does is make kicks at big moments. You saw it in his first big kick of his career. September 24th, 2017, he kicks a 61-yard field goal against the New York Giants to win that game, and then they went on a tear that year all the way to the Super Bowl. Let's hope that happens again. But Jake Elliott, in bad weather, bad field, 59 yards, lights out. And I see Xavier Spencer saying 3 things are for sure: death, taxes, and Jake Elliott. As Jason Kelce likes to call him, Jake the Make. Such a big kick. Such a big kick. And I see Jason A-Team checking in. Good to see you, Jason. Thunderbird checking in. But Jake the Snake, Jake the Make, big kick. And then what they do in overtime, man, still couldn't let us breathe. They let the Buffalo Bills, who win the coin toss, come down the field. Defense finally holds them. What's up, MC? Seeing MC checking in. Finally holds them, and now they're down 3. This team just kept battling back. Down 10 at the half. Down 10 in the fourth quarter. Down 3 with 1 minute and 52 seconds left. Down 3 in overtime. And I did a video on my Instagram page today. A little over 10 years ago, that game would have been over with that field goal by the Buffalo Bills. If you guys remember correctly, the old rule in the NFL, it was the first team to score. Didn't matter if it was a field goal. Didn't matter if the opposing team had an opportunity with the ball or not. It was the first team to score. But thankfully, the NFL changed that rule in 2010 for the playoffs, saying, hey, if a team kicks a field goal, we're going to give the opposing team an opportunity. And then 2 years later in 2012, they rolled it out for the regular season as well. And thankfully they did, because we would have been ripped off yesterday of an amazing finish where then Jalen Hurts takes the Philadelphia Eagles 9 plays, 75-yard drive with a quarterback draw to finish the game. And if you guys haven't seen that play, go back and watch Jason Kelce. He pulls left and completely takes the guy out of the picture. A beautiful textbook block by Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce, still playing at an extremely high level. Hoping he comes back next year. I don't know if he will. And the Philadelphia Eagles win 37-34. Unbelievable. All they do is win. And we talked about being down 10-plus points. That was Jalen Hurts' 8th straight win when being down 10 or more points. He already had the record at 7 straight. He had the record at 6 straight. He had the record at 5 straight. No quarterback, since they started tracking this in the 90s, had more than 4 games where they were down by 10 or more points and came back to win. Jalen's now done it 8 damn times. And if you looked at Jalen Hurts, he looks the same when he's down 10 as he does when they're up 10. He is a tremendous leader. I have not seen a better leader in all of Philadelphia sports. There's been some good ones. There have been some good ones. I'm not taking anything away from other guys who have worn this uniform or have worn Philadelphia sports uniforms. But you cannot tell me that there is a leader better than Jalen Hurts. And this team feeds off of it, man. Absolutely feeds off of it. And you talk about resiliency, short memory. Jalen Hurts, 4 of 11 in the first half for 33 yards. 14 of 20 for 167, 3 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, no turnovers, and a passer rating of 134.8. And just listen to some of these stats that Jeff Kerr put out from CBS. Jalen Hurts, when tied or trailing this season in the second half and overtime, so basically when the games matter most, he's 50 of 74, close to 68% completion rate, 686 yards in the air, 10 touchdowns, a 136.6 passer rating. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable, Jalen Hurts. And you talk about clutch. I told you Jake Elliott is the most clutch kicker I have ever seen in Philadelphia, maybe in the NFL. And people forget Super Bowl 52, Jake Elliott hit a big field goal after Brandon Graham's strip sack that made that an 8-point game. And I forget how long that field goal was, but it wasn't a chip shot. It was 48. Maybe it was 48 yards. But that was a big kick to make it an 8-point game. They missed that field goal in Super Bowl 52. It's a whole different world with Tom Brady getting the ball with great field position, only down 5. But Jake Elliott, listen to some of these numbers that Reuben Frank from NBC Sports Philly put out. Jake Elliott, 5th kicker in NFL history with 3 career field goals of 59 yards or more. He's one of 5 kickers. Think about that. All of the kickers who have gone through the NFL, there's only been 5 of them who have more than 3 59-yard field goals. And one of them is Jake Elliott. He's 9 of 9 on game-tying or game-winning field goals. He's never missed. Knock on wood. He is 6 of 7 this season from 50-plus. It's unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. And I see people in the chat talking about Brian Johnson. I promise you, we are going to get there. I promise you. And I see people throwing out Frank Reich. We're going to talk about it all. We are going to talk about it all. But let's give our flowers to the players who deserve them to start this show. We talked about Jalen. We talked about Jake Elliott. And now I want to talk about Olamide Zaccheaus. Local kid, St. Joe's prep product, Olamide Zaccheaus. We know how good A.J. Brown is. And you've seen, again, how good Devontae Smith is over the last few games. Teams are putting a lot of focus on A.J. Brown, as they should, and Devontae Smith has been stepping up in a big way. But let's talk about Olamide Zaccheaus, because one thing that has frustrated us fans over the last couple of years has been that wide receiver 3 position. And let's call it like we see it, Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins not showing up and making big plays in big moments. And a lot of people, including me, wanted to see the Philadelphia Eagles upgrade their wide receiver 3 position in the offseason. And now you see Julio Jones getting a lot of those wide receiver 3 reps. But Quez Watkins was activated yesterday. And I was hoping and praying that the Eagles weren't going to do what they did the last time Quez came back from injury, which was immediately give him all of his reps back and not let Olamide Zaccheaus get on the field. They gave some reps to Quez, but they let OZ get some playing time. And OZ hasn't had a huge year, but what he's done is come up big when he's been asked to come up big, and none bigger than that catch yesterday. Only had 1 catch in that game, but it was a big one. 29-yard touchdown, gives them the lead in the 4th quarter. And I see somebody said it in the chat. I said this morning on my show, and I'm going to say it again. Quez Watkins doesn't make that play. He's proven to us over the last couple of years that he will not come up big and make a big play when the Philadelphia Eagles need it. He would have not made that play. But Olamide Zaccheaus did. And it was a big one, man. And that's what you love about this team. They are filled with winners. They are filled with guys who, when the games matter the most, they show up. And I'm so sick and tired of it with people saying, oh, the Eagles got lucky. The Bills lost that game. The Bills gave you that game. The Kansas City Chiefs gave you that game. The Dallas Cowboys gave you that game. This is the NFL. Players make plays in big moments. Good teams find ways to win when the games are on the line. And that's what this Philadelphia Eagles team does. That's what these Eagles players do. The Bills are dropping passes. Kansas City Chiefs players are dropping passes. Dallas Cowboys are committing penalties, giving up sacks. That's why the Eagles are 10-1. That's why the Eagles are 10-1. And I'm talking about the players, and I'm giving flowers to the players. Well, let's talk about Nick Sirianni as the head coach. Because this culture, I've said it before on this show, this culture starts at the top with Nick Sirianni. And he gets zero respect across the NFL. And Nick Sirianni's not a perfect coach. We're going to talk about it later because he's a part of that offensive game plan that came out. Don't even know what they were thinking in that first half with the offensive game plan. But Nick Sirianni has built a culture here, not only of winning, but of battling adversity. You've heard Nick Sirianni talk about that dog mentality. Well, these players buy into it. That dog mentality of just living for the next play no matter what. And it goes perfectly with who Jalen Hurts is as a player and with who these guys are. And they are winners. And talking about a winner, let's talk about our man, Brandon Graham. What a night for BG. BG sets the record for the most games ever played by a Philadelphia Eagle. No player in history has put on that Eagles jersey more than BG. Incredible, man. And we were talking about Super Bowl 52. You have to mention that strip sack. Still the greatest play in Eagles history. And he gets a big sack last night in the fourth quarter on Josh Allen. Really big night for BG. Really big night. But you look up and down this team, and it wasn't perfect. And we're going to take a quick break in a little bit, and when we get back, we'll talk about how it wasn't perfect. But I want to keep it positive in this first segment. And I appreciate all you guys in the chat. I see Denise Larada, Jay Koch, Vince G, Jason Sparks. Love all the guys checking in. And I'm loving these 49ers trolls who are here. We're going to get into the 49ers later. Don't worry. Don't worry, guys. We're going to talk about the 49ers because we've had this date circled on our schedule too. Don't you worry. But you look up and down this lineup. Think about the game Jack Driscoll played yesterday. He gets no first-team reps all week. Finds out the morning of the game that he's going to be starting. And not only are you starting, you're trying to replace one of the best tackles in the NFL. A future Hall of Famer, in my opinion, Lane Johnson. And listen to what Jack Driscoll did. He allowed 4 pressures on 39 pass blocking snaps. 4 of them came on the first 14 plays in the first half. After that, he didn't allow a pressure on the next 26 pass plays in that second half. He got a little bit of help. We'll give some credit to the coaching staff for changing the game plan a little bit, but he battled in that game. And Driscoll actually played pretty damn well. You look at this Buffalo Bills team. They were a good defense. I said it. If you follow me, you know I was breaking down the Bills game leading in, talking about this was a good defense. They were a top 10 defense in the league. They were number 2 in the NFL in sacks coming in with 39 sacks. They had only given up 17 points a game. 17 points per game. And not only did the Philadelphia Eagles put up 37, they put up 30 points after halftime against a team who was giving up 17 points a game coming in. And you got Jack Driscoll. Doesn't just stop with him. We talked about Kelsey. We've talked about Jalen Hurts. Devontae Smith showing up in a big way. No Dallas Goedert. You have your backup tight ends in there. They played their butts off in the second half. And then on defense, We're going to talk about how this team can improve on defense because it needs to improve. But you look at how many snaps they played, 95 defensive snaps in that game. 95. The time of possession, 40 minutes and 30 seconds to 26. That defense was on the field for 40 minutes. You had no Milton Williams. Fletcher Cox goes out. So what did that mean? Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Marlon Tupulotu. They had to play more snaps than they've ever played in their life. And I saw a stat, and at first I thought it was a joke. You all remember Jordan Davis, big boy Jordan Davis, chasing after Josh Allen to push him out of bounds late in that game. Well, this was a stat that I actually thought was a joke, and it turns out to be true. Jordan Davis reached a top speed of close to 17 miles per hour while chasing Josh Allen. That's from Next Gen Stats. That is the second fastest speed reached of any player over 330 pounds. And to put that into perspective, Josh Allen's top speed was a little over 18 miles an hour. Jordan Davis can move, man. And he is hustling late in that game after playing more snaps than he's ever played in his life. Because these guys win. And you heard Nick Sirianni talk about it after the game. It helps that you have veterans on this team, for sure, like BG and Fletch and Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey. But it also helps that they have guys from Georgia and Alabama who their entire life, all they've done is win big games. I bet you if you talk to this team, a lot of these guys probably haven't lost more than 5 or 6 games in their life, dating back to high school and then looking at their college careers and now playing for this Philadelphia Eagles team. And that's contagious, man. Being a guy who's played sports his entire life, I'm sure a lot of you guys have played sports your entire life. You join a team that has a winning culture, it is contagious. You find ways to win. And I don't know about you, but I've been on teams who don't have a winning culture, who lose a lot of games, and you find ways to lose. And that is not this Philadelphia Eagles team. And we need to enjoy it. And when we get back from the break, we are going to break it down. We're going to talk about some negatives. We're going to talk about things that this team absolutely has to improve. But we also have to take some time to enjoy what we are watching because we may never see it again. You may never see the wins, the way this team is winning at an incredible rate. And I said it on the show last week. I said it on the Philly Sports Power Hour this morning. What you are seeing, you don't see it in the NFL. You see it in high school. You see it in college where the Philadelphia Eagles have now had the best record in the NFL since week 1 of 2022. They've now won 27 out of their last 29 regular season games with Jalen Hurts. This is high school stuff, college stuff. You don't see this in the NFL. So let's enjoy it. When we get back, guys, we will turn our focus to some things they need to improve because it's not all positive. But take the break, enjoy it, give yourself a little Eagles chant, hit that like button, engage, hit me up in the comments. When we come back, guys, we'll talk about things I think this team needs to work on. We'll be right back.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lee Hockey a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed to most to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA state tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their Fantasy Pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday, watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back in to the Legal Hands to the Face show with Bill Colarulo. I appreciate everybody spending some time with me tonight on this Victory Monday as we get ready for Monday Night Football. And if you guys are Sixers fans, big Sixers game tonight against LeBron and the Lakers. We'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow on the Philly Sports Power Hour. But Legal Hands to the Face is all Eagles all the time, so we will continue to talk about our Philadelphia Eagles. But I just got some bad news. Dr. Radcliffe will not be able to make it tonight. Got a call from his assistant saying he is still in the operating room. So as much as he would love to make the Legal Hands to the Face show, if he's doing surgery, I guess we'll let him continue to do surgery. But we'll talk to him because Dr. Radcliffe and I, we're going to talk a little bit tonight about why are we seeing so many Achilles tears in the NFL. Him and I talked a little bit about it last week. So he went and did a little bit of research to see if artificial turf had anything to do with these injuries. He sent me some articles. He did some research. As you know, Dr. Radcliffe, extremely smart. Went to Harvard undergrad, Duke Medical School. So I'm really looking forward to talking to him about that. But we'll get him back on the show next week. But we'll let him do his operating. He's got a busy evening, so hopefully everything is okay there. But let's turn our focus. I told you guys that we will talk about things this team needs to improve, and I see everybody in the chat already talking about it. But I want to get this out of the way first because I talked about how I don't think Nick Sirianni gets enough credit. And I see Mike Tobin saying, why can't he bring the phone into the OR? I think he's actually hands-on. I think he's hands-on doing surgery. But I don't know. Next time we'll tell him, just bring the damn phone in. Legal Hands to the Face is on the air live. But we talk about this coaching staff and about the things they need to do to improve. But I still don't think that Nick Sirianni gets the credit that he deserves. And when I talk about how good teams find ways to win, you look at the penalties last night. And I know Buffalo Bills fans and Eagles haters want to talk about how the referees were on the Eagles side. Stop. okay? You make yourself sound dumb when you start talking like that. The Philadelphia Eagles were the more disciplined team last night. Was that a pass interference on Darius Slay on the sideline where he's holding his jersey? Sure it was. But you know what I thought that was? A veteran move, because the referee who's calling that penalty is behind you. It wasn't like he had his hands outside. He's holding them here. It's a veteran move. They missed it. But most of the penalties that were called on the Buffalo Bills were penalties. They committed those penalties. 11 for 80 yards. Philadelphia Eagles, 4 for 30. And 15 of them were in overtime on the roughing the passer play on Nicholas Morrow. And I said this today on the show, and it's going to get me worked up again, and I'm curious what your opinion is in the chat. Listen, I completely agree with the NFL wanting to protect these franchise quarterbacks. Without the franchise quarterbacks, you see the quality of play in the NFL plummet. So I am all for trying to protect these quarterbacks as much as possible. And if that means that some of these roughing the passer calls are going to get called, even though it frustrates the hell out of us, I'm okay with it. But what I am not okay with is the flopping by the quarterbacks, is the constant whining and asking for roughing the passer penalties. Stop. Okay? Because you know the NFL is doing things to protect you. Why do you flop? Why do you flail your arms? Why do you turn and beg and whine and ask for the roughing the passer call? That bothers me. You don't see Jalen Hurts doing that. You see Patrick Mahomes is starting to do that, and that's pissing me off because Mahomes is one of the greatest quarterbacks we have ever seen in the NFL. Just play, man. Just play. If there's a roughing the passer call, they're going to call it. Stop with the flopping. Stop with the whining. There's an entire minute highlight reel of Josh Allen throughout his career doing nothing but flopping, flailing his arms, and asking and begging the refs for penalties. There is nothing that bothers me more about that. Nothing that bothers me more. And you saw it again last night. I don't think that was a penalty on Morrow. Got to be more disciplined. Don't throw out the arm. But that's a flop. And I said it today on my show. The NBA has a new rule this year. A flopping rule. That is a foul against the team that flops. It's a technical foul if you flop. I think the NFL should consider it. Because if these quarterbacks want to be protected, and I agree they should be protected, if they're going to flop, then I think they should be penalized. Curious what you guys think in the chat, because that just frustrates me so much with them begging for the flags. Just play the damn game. If the ref throws the flag, he throws the flag. Stop begging for it. And look, it's different. Look, if you're getting held, you want to tell the referee, hey, I'm being held. That's different. But to flail your arms and flop and then beg for the roughing the passer call bothers me. Bothers me. But anyway, felt like the Eagles did a better job. They were the more disciplined team last night than the Buffalo Bills. And they did make the proper corrections in the second half, and we will get there, at least on offense. But I'm going to start with the defensive side of the ball. I know everybody wants to talk about Brian Johnson. And we will, and we should. But I want to talk about this defensive game plan, because this defense has me concerned. I'm not sure that what we are seeing right now is a championship defense. You look up and down their stats right now, and it is concerning. Now, I'm a fan of Sean Desai. And I see Frank Gallo checking in the chat saying both coordinators need to be replaced. I'm not there yet on Sean Desai. I still think Sean Desai can be a very good defensive coordinator. But I am concerned about this defense. Now, one of the things that they have been able to do before this Buffalo Bills game was really come out in the second half over the last two games, the Chiefs and the Cowboys, and shut them down. They held the Chiefs to 0 points in the second half. They held the Dallas Cowboys to 6 points in the second half. You saw them do the same thing against the Los Angeles Rams, where they started to really shut them down in the second half. Same thing with the Miami Dolphins. But last night, this defense really got exposed. And I know you had no Fletcher Cox. Milton Williams was a big loss. Zach Cunningham going down was a big loss. But I am very concerned about this defense. You let the Buffalo Bills put up over 500 yards of offense last night. And this offense was good. Don't get me wrong. This Buffalo Bills offense, we talked about it all week last week. Top 10 offense in every single category outside of turnovers. They were 26 in the league in committing turnovers. But every other category, the Buffalo Bills offense was right up there. Top 10 in points per game, yards per game, passing yards per game, third down offense. And we're going to talk about third down because that's one of the major concerns I have with this Philadelphia Eagles defense. But look at some of these stats. 505 yards of offense. They let Josh Allen throw for 339, and they let him run for over 80 yards. And sometimes we always want to blame the coordinators. Everybody wants to blame Sean Desai, and he should share in some of the blame allowing 500 yards. But some of it is execution by the players. There were times in that game yesterday where Sean Desai had a called spy on Josh Allen, where they were supposed to have a spy, and everybody knows what a spy is. It's a player dedicated to the quarterback so he can't break the pocket and scramble. And there were times they had that spy on, and they just missed the tackle. They just weren't in the right position. That's not on the coach. Players got to execute. Look, we want to give credit to players when they make big plays. You got to talk about it when the players don't execute, when the coach has them in the right position. And like I said, Desai wasn't perfect last night. He wasn't perfect, but he did have some good calls. That James Bradbury interception, I'm giving Sean Desai a lot of credit for that play. And you look, if you watch the JAKIB Sports postgame show, we were on with Seth Joyner, and he was talking about that specific play was Sean Desai dialing up where James Bradbury purposely hands off the receiver to the safety and then circles back underneath to take the underneath route. And Josh Allen never sees Bradbury. Boom, big interception. That's on Sean Desai because you know what the tendencies are of your opposing offense. That is a good play, good execution by Bradbury, great call by Sean Desai. But they let Josh Allen go for 81 yards last night. We already talked about it, 95 plays. But there's two major areas of concern I have. We knew this team wasn't good against the pass. Talking about our Philadelphia Eagles defense. We knew they have struggled against the pass all season long. They were 28th in the NFL coming in, giving up close to 250 yards in the air. So it didn't necessarily surprise me that they let this team go for 339. Wasn't happy about it, but it didn't surprise me. Well, after that game, they now sit close to the bottom, even more so, dropping another spot, 29th in the league. But one of the things that this team did well before the last two games is they stopped the run better than anybody. They were number one in the NFL. Going into that Kansas City Chiefs game, they were only giving up 63 yards a game on the ground. Number one rush defense. Look, and I know this week we talked about it. No Milton Williams, big loss. No Fletcher Cox, big loss. But Fletcher Cox did play in that Kansas City Chiefs game. And you look at this Philadelphia defense, they're now third in the league, giving up 85 yards a game. But I want to look at what has happened the last 2 weeks in that running defense. Because you looked at what the Kansas City Chiefs were able to do with Isaiah Pacheco. They put up 168 yards rushing, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Buffalo Bills put up 173. That's over a 170-yard average in the last 2 games. In the first 9 games, teams were averaging 66 yards a game. And they only allowed one team in 9 games to go over 100. You now have had back-to-back weeks where they let up 100 yards, let up over 150 yards. The most they had given up before the Chiefs game was 107. And I see Jason Sparks. I agree with you. Milton was out, Cox went down, and Jordan and Jalen Carter aren't built to play that amount of snaps. That is true. But this is the reality of the NFL down the stretch. You may not have all of your players every week. You may not have healthy players in the playoffs. You have to be able to play. And the reason why our defense was on the field as much as they were on the field, you're talking about how Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis had to play so many snaps. Do you know why they had to play so many snaps? Because this Eagles defense was horrible on third down. Absolutely horrible. And let's take a look. Going into that Buffalo Bills game, the defense was already bad on third down. They were giving up third down conversions 43% of the time. That was 27th in the NFL. We would have killed for 43% in that game. 43% was what they were averaging, and it was near the bottom of the league. 43% would have been a world better than what the Eagles defense did against the Buffalo Bills. They let the Buffalo Bills offense go 13 of 22 for over 59% in that game. And we love to talk about it, and I love to talk about how Sean Desai has shut teams out in the second half. Do you know what the Buffalo Bills did on third down in the second half and overtime? They went 7 of 10 for 70%. 70%. They had 22 third down opportunities in that game. That's why our defense was on the field so damn much. And how many times did we see a third and long that the Bills converted on? You are not going to win a lot of games in the NFL if you are going to lose on third down as much as the Philadelphia Eagles defense lost on third down in that game. And look, I'm going to give credit to the Buffalo Bills. They had the second best third down offense in the league coming in. They were only a 1/10 of a point behind your Philadelphia Eagles for third down efficiency. They had a good third down offense, mainly because you saw what Josh Allen can do with his legs. He has the ability to extend drives with his legs, just like Jalen does. That's the reason why both of those guys lead 2 of the best third down offenses in the league. But you have to figure out a way to get off the field on third down. You cannot let teams convert 70% in the second half. And that has me concerned. And when we look forward to this San Francisco game, that's going to be a big part of it. Look, I talk about it every week. There's really 3 areas to football games where I think dictate who wins. Turnovers, third down efficiency, red zone efficiency. And it is amazing. It really is amazing that the Philadelphia Eagles lost 2 out of 3 in those categories and still won this game. They lost a turnover battle 2-1. They lost third down by a landslide. But they did have a better red zone efficiency. They were 100% in the red zone. And I think Buffalo was 4 of 5. But those third and longs, you have to get off the field if you want to win football games in this league, especially against these better teams. But Eagles got away with it. The Eagles got away with it. But you look at this defense, And like I said, I am not putting all the blame on Sean Desai. I think Sean Desai can be a good defensive coordinator in this league. The players have to execute too. But you look at this defense, and these numbers may change a little bit because there's a game tonight, but they shouldn't change much as far as where they rank. But the Philadelphia Eagles are 19th in the NFL, giving up 341 yards a game. 20th in the NFL, giving up over 22 yards per game. 29th in the NFL in passing yards against at 256. Still top 3 in rushing yards against, but not the last 2 weeks. Not the last 2 weeks. They're 18th in takeaways, 11th in sacks, 30th in third down efficiency. 30th. There's only 32 teams in the NFL. And the Philadelphia Eagles defense is 30th on third down. That's a problem, a big problem. And that's something that Sean Desai and this Eagles staff needs to figure out real quick. And what was the other key to a game that I talked about? Turnovers, third down, and red zone. Philadelphia Eagles are 29th in the league in red zone defense. So this defense needs to get better. They need to get better on third down. They need to get better in the red zone, and they need to start forcing more takeaways. And I put that blame all around. Sean Desai shares in it, but these players need to execute better as well. And one of the players that I was hoping to talk to Dr. Radcliffe about was Zach Cunningham. Because Zach Cunningham sustained a hamstring injury in that game. And Zach Cunningham's been your best linebacker on this team. And I don't think it's been close. Morrow's played well, but Zach Cunningham has played a majority of the snaps at linebacker. He's been one of your best linebackers in pass coverage. One of your best linebackers against the run. And now he goes down with a hamstring. And this Eagles team was already light at the linebacker position. Look, if you followed me, you know we've been screaming about this since the offseason. I wasn't happy with this linebacker position from the offseason. I didn't like that they were putting all their hopes into Nakobe Dean, a guy who's only completely torched. He was one of the worst linebackers rated by Pro Football Focus in pass defense. And I see Adam's exploits in the chat, and that's what I'm about to talk about, Shaq Leonard. I think the Eagles have to get him. We need depth at the linebacker position. I don't know what Shaq Leonard has left. Me and Seth Joyner talked about it last night on the postgame show, that teams don't let good players walk. Because, well, I'm seeing Bowner Johnson asking me if I'm dead. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means, Bowner. But Seth Joyner said it last night. Teams don't let good players walk, and the Indianapolis Colts are on the hook. They're on the hook for the $6 million anyway because he cleared waivers. So I don't know what Shaq Leonard has left, but I'm bringing him in simply because you need a depth piece immediately. Because your backup right now to Christian Ellis and Nick Morrow, if Zach Cunningham can't go, is rookie Ben Van Sumeren. Van Sumeren's not ready to play linebacker in this league. And what I like about Shaq Leonard is he fits the culture. You know he has a history. Oh, people are saying I froze for a minute. Everybody all right? You got me now? Oh, there was just a little bit of a buffering issue. I don't know why. I got you guys plugged in. I got good internet. So maybe sometimes it's YouTube. But you talk about Shaq Leonard. He's a former All-Pro. He was a captain on the Indianapolis Colts. He fits the culture. He's got a history with Nick Sirianni. In fact, he was one of the first guys that came to Nick Sirianni's defense. after that brutal first press conference for Sirianni. So to me, I think it's a no-brainer. We need the depth at linebacker. You have familiarity with this guy. And to top it off, the Cowboys won him. So I'm not letting Shaq Leonard go to the Dallas Cowboys and helping out their defense. So you can accomplish a lot by simply bringing in Shaq Leonard. He helps your defense. He helps your locker room. He gives you some depth at linebacker, and you take him away from the Dallas Cowboys. But they need to do something. They need to do something because this defense, to me, is not looking like a championship defense. But I know that's not what a lot of people want to talk about right now. I know a lot of people aren't as upset about the defense as they are about some of the offensive play calling and the offensive game planning. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will go to the other side of the football, and we'll talk a little bit about this offensive coaching staff and what the hell they were thinking to start that game yesterday. Stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed to most to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA State tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their fantasy pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday. Watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the Legal Hands to the Face show with Bill Colarulo. Appreciate all my people in the chat engaging. Appreciate you all hitting that like button for us, hitting that share button. And like I said, if you're not already following me on Twitter at Bill Colarulo, on Instagram at Legal Hands to the Face. Make sure you're following me. Make sure you're engaging. I like when you guys comment on the videos, send me DMs. I put polls up a lot on my Instagram story. I want you guys voting. So be sure, hit me up. Let me know things you want to talk about. And check us out on the Philly Sports Power Hour every day right here on the JAKIB Sports Network at 10 o'clock. We'll be doing that tomorrow. I think tomorrow I'm actually filling in on Sports Take with Rob Ellis as well. So you get Philly Sports Power Hour on Tuesday from 10 to 11 and then Sports Take from 11 to 2. So hopefully I'll see some of you guys there tomorrow. But before we get into this offensive coaching staff and the game plan, I want to talk about what I love about this city and our fans. We are sitting here at 10-1, and there are a lot of people, including people in this chat and a lot of people on my Instagram page, who are demanding that the Philadelphia Eagles fire Brian Johnson and bring in Frank Reich. I want to just take a step back and think about what we are asking for. And we're going to talk about why this offensive coaching staff needs to make some improvements. But we have a 10-1 football team. We have an offense that currently sits in the top 10 in the NFL. And we want to fire our offensive coordinator and bring in a guy who's 1-10. That's why I love this city, man. That is why I love this city. But I will say, a lot of the offense doesn't pass the eye test. And it's not all stats, but I am torn. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about how infuriating that offensive game plan was going into that Buffalo game. But I am torn. I don't think it's as bad as some people are saying it is. They have done a lot of good things on the offensive side of the ball. But before we move on, just because I brought up Frank Reich, I do think the Philadelphia Eagles will bring in Frank Reich. It's not going to be your offensive coordinator. They will bring him in as a consultant. No doubt in my mind. You know how much Nick Sirianni admires Frank Reich. It was his mentor. And I'm all for it. Bringing in a guy who's had head coaching experience in this league, a guy who helped this team win a Super Bowl. I think you definitely bring in a Frank Reich. It's crazy. I don't know if you saw, not only do they fire Frank Reich already in Carolina, they got rid of Deuce Staley and Josh McCown. And it's a shame because we love Deuce Staley here. I don't think he's coming back after he left, but you never know. Love Deuce Staley. But he followed Frank Reich there, and they don't even last the season. It's a shame. But I said it on my show today about how, remember when the Philadelphia Eagles, after Super Bowl 52, came out to a little bit of a slow start in 2018, that everybody in Philadelphia was saying, oh, it was all because of Frank Reich. They only won that Super Bowl because of Frank Reich. Doug Peterson can't coach. Doug Peterson's a pretty damn good coach, man. He is a pretty damn good coach. And I like Frank Reich, will always like Frank Reich. Definitely helped contribute to that Super Bowl 52 team. But you look back, and I don't think that we gave Dougie P enough credit, saying it was all Frank Reich. Dougie P's got those Jacksonville Jaguars sitting at 8-3. Love Doug Peterson. But I would bring in Frank Reich. I'd bring him in as a consultant. Can't hurt. They did it last year with Vince Fangio. So we'll see. But he's not coming in to be your offensive coordinator. They're not getting rid of Brian Johnson. But with all that being said, the offensive game plan going in to that game against the Buffalo Bills was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Not only was it bad weather, not only were the Buffalo Bills the 27th ranked defense in yards per carry against, you found out a couple hours before kickoff that your all-pro right tackle isn't going to play. So let's go through that one more time. Horrible weather. The 27th ranked defense in yards per carry against. All pro right tackle out of the game. And the game plan was to come out and only give your running back 7 carries in the first half and only give DeAndre Swift 3 carries the entire first half. You saw immediately, once they started running the football in the second half, what that did for this Eagles offense. And listen, I said this earlier today on the Power Hour. I am not one of these guys who thinks it's 1995 in the NFL and you need to run the ball 50 times a game. It is a passing league. You should pass the ball a lot in this league, but you cannot completely abandon your running game. You cannot completely ignore one of the best playmakers on this team in DeAndre Swift and only give him 3 carries the entire first half, especially when you don't have your all-pro right tackle. And instead of letting Jack Driscoll get into a rhythm early by letting him hit somebody, you have him backing up on every play. The Eagles came out in that game and they called 3 straight pass plays. Do you think maybe it would have been a better decision to let Jack Driscoll hit the guy in front of him a little bit? Maybe that slows down the pass rush. You saw it in the second half simply by running a little bit of play action, slowed down that pass rush. And then they started to move the football. You look at the first half, they gave DeAndre Swift 3 touches. Second half, they gave him 10 carries. He had 57 yards. He averaged 5.7 yards a carry. And he is what sparked that offense. His 36-yard run is what completely sparked that offense and set them up for the rest of that second half and overtime. And the reason I say we need to talk about Nick Sirianni as well is this isn't all Brian Johnson. Nick Sirianni's a part of the game plan. This is Nick Sirianni's offense. Nick Sirianni is the offensive coach. He is involved in these game plans. I did not understand why they came out in that game throwing the ball 3 straight times and only giving DeAndre Swift 3 touches in that first half. And like I said, you saw what happened in the second half when they were balanced. They ran the ball 14 times in the second half, and they threw it 15 times. And they moved the ball. They put up 30 damn points against one of the top defenses in the league by simply being balanced. And this is why I say I am torn. Because as bad as the game plan was in the first half, I have to give credit where credit is due, and I thought Brian Johnson called a great game in the second half. I thought the play calling was really, really good in that second half. And I know one thing that we all hate, and we all yell at the screen every time they call a bubble screen to the wide receiver. And they called it in the first half to Julio Jones, and we're all yelling at the TV again. Why? You can't run the bubble screen. But then look at what happened in the second half. That touchdown to Devontae Smith in the back of the end zone was a great play call by Brian Johnson. They ran a fake bubble screen to Julio Jones on the right side. The safety bit for a second. That's all it took. You saw Jalen Hurts pump fake the screen. Safety bit, touchdown, Devontae Smith. And they've done that a couple times this year. So as angry as we get at the bubble screen, it is there to set up other things. They ran some motion yesterday. They don't run a lot of motion pre-snap. They ran some motion. They started to run some play action. You saw Jalen Hurts getting involved in some called quarterback draws at the right times. There were still times where I didn't like the play calling and I didn't like the quarterback draws, but I thought that overall in that second half, Brian Johnson called a lot better of a game. But what they came out with in the first half, I just don't get it. I just don't understand. I don't understand why us as fans and analysts sit here and can clearly see going into a football game that the answer is to probably be a little bit more balanced tonight. Hey, we got a great running back in DeAndre Swift. You got a guy, Boston Scott, who every time he touches the ball, he does something. I still don't understand why Boston Scott gets 0 touches in this offense. He had 2 carries last night. One of them, I think he picked up a first down for 10 yards. They just won't give him opportunities. But look, this is why I'm torn. And I see people in the chat, Jose Torres, saying it's the analytics. And I want to get to the stats for a second because this is what has me thrown off. And we'll talk about the eye test in a second, but let's look at the stats for a second. Last year's offense, with Shane Steichen as the offensive coordinator, I think we would all agree was a really good offense. Did anybody in the chat have a problem with the Philadelphia Eagles offense last year? Because I don't think you could have a problem with that offense. I felt like Shane Steichen was a great play caller. I felt like they were a dominant offense. And you look at the numbers this season, and they're not that far off from last year's offense. Last year, they averaged 389 yards per game. This year, they're averaging 364. It's not that much different. Last year, 28 points per game. 28.1 points per game. This year, 28.2 points per game. Almost identical. They threw for 241 a game last year. This year, they're throwing for 231. They ran for 148 last year. They're running for 133. Third down conversions last year, close to 46%. This year, 47%. Top 3 in the league. Fourth down, they're number 1 in the NFL converting on fourth down. And remember when we were all throwing our arms up about this red zone offense and how bad this red zone offense used to be? They started out at the beginning of the year, they were in the 20s. Then they worked their way up to the teens. Going into the game against the Bills, they were 9th in the NFL at 59%. They're now sitting 5th in the NFL at 63% in the red zone. Since week 6, the Philadelphia Eagles have the best red zone offense in the entire NFL. They're over 80%. So that's why I say I am torn, because you watch these games and you see the offensive game plan and you want to throw things at the television. But the finished product, at the end of the day, they're winning football games. They're putting up a lot of points. They're converting on third down. They're converting in the red zone. But something does seem off. But the major positive from that Buffalo Bills game is that they did change. They did change in that second half, because there is nothing worse than a stubborn offensive coordinator or a stubborn head coach who puts together a game plan and just never breaks from it. So thankfully, Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson at least have the ability to change in the game, and you saw it against the Buffalo Bills. I just think this game would have been a lot different if they came out with that game plan. But I want to see what some people are saying in the chat here. Adam's exploits. Don't say eye test. I did it in Birds 365. McMullen didn't like it. He came after me. Wine Niners Wine. Analytics tell Nick the game plan. Brian has to follow the game plan. Second quarter are his adjustments when Brian can shine. Jose Torres. wants to know what the 3-and-out rate is this year versus last year. I'll have to look that up. I don't have that number in front of me. But this team is converting, like I said, at a great clip on third down. But I know a lot of people say it's because of the talent that this team has on offense. And they are extremely talented on offense. And I've seen Frank Gallo in the chat say before that he thinks the offensive coordinators are holding this team back. But you look at these numbers, and it has me torn about why people are calling for the coordinators to be fired when they're getting pretty much the same end result that they've gotten before. So we will switch gears for a second because we are almost at the end of the show. And guys, like we end every show, I'm going to hit you with a little Philadelphia Eagles trivia. So make sure you stay tuned for that. See if you guys get that right. But let's switch gears because Philadelphia Eagles are 10-1. And they got a big game coming up on Sunday. And if you haven't heard, the Philadelphia Eagles are underdogs in their own building against the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday. The 10-1 Philadelphia Eagles going up against the 8-3 San Francisco 49ers. And the Philadelphia Eagles right now are 2.5-point dogs in their own building. And we know we all had this circled on our schedule the moment it came out. And some of you guys follow me and you've watched the Philly Sports Power Hour. So I'm going to say it on here because I'm not sure that I've said it again on the Legal Hands to the Face show. But what's bothered me so much about 49ers fans and the 49ers players is the constant whining and crying since the NFC Championship game last year about not having a quarterback to play in that game. And what I've said before is it's not like your quarterback tore a hamstring or rolled an ankle running out of bounds on a fluke play. Your quarterback got knocked out of that game because Kyle Shanahan decided to block one of the best defensive players in the league, Hassan Reddick, with a backup tight end. And Hassan Reddick knocked him out of the game. And then your offensive line couldn't block Reddick again, and he knocked Josh Johnson out of the game. So stop acting like you had some fluke injury and didn't have a quarterback. The Philadelphia Eagles were the better team in that football game. And they dominated you 31-7. And they knocked out not one, but two quarterbacks on big sacks because your offensive line couldn't block them. So I'm sick of the whining. And that's why the Philadelphia Eagles fans have had this circled on their schedule since it came out. But here's the crazy thing. We're going to be up for this game. Philadelphia Eagles want to win this game. But this game means a lot less to the Philadelphia Eagles than it does to the San Francisco 49ers. Philadelphia Eagles have set themselves up very nicely at 10-1. That the Eagles don't need to win this football game. I'd like to see them win it. I'd like to see them shut up these 49ers fans. But this is only a preview to the NFC Championship game. Because as much as I hate the whining that the 49ers and their fans have been doing, they are the best team in the NFC outside of the Philadelphia Eagles. They're a very good football team. And this is a preview of the NFC Championship game. And the Philadelphia Eagles at 10-1 don't need to win this game to make sure they get home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But the 49ers need to win this football game. Because that will change their seeding most likely. Maybe not. I mean, you look at the Detroit Lions, it depends on what they do the rest of the way. But I really think the San Francisco 49ers are going to be vying for the number 2 seed with the Detroit Lions, not the number 1 seed with the Philadelphia Eagles, regardless of what happens in this football game. But you saw the Lions go down on Thanksgiving, and now they're 8-3. But this should be a good game. I said the 49ers are a good team. They won 5 in a row to start the season, and they beat some good teams in there. This isn't one of those Dallas Cowboys teams who can't beat anybody with a winning record. San Francisco 49ers opened their season with 5 straight. They beat the Steelers, who are 7-4. The LA Rams, 5-6. New York Giants, 4-8. Arizona Cardinals, 2-10. They beat the Cowboys, demolished the Cowboys, who are 8-3. And then their starting left tackle, Trent Williams, was out. Deebo Samuel was out. Give you guys a little bit of an excuse. 49ers lose 3 straight to the Cleveland Browns, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Cincinnati Bengals. Not easy games, tough teams. But then they bounced back in a big way against Doug Peterson and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then they beat the Tampa Bay Bucks, who are 4-7, and they crushed the Seattle Seahawks on Thanksgiving night. And I think why a lot of teams, or excuse me, I think why a lot of and I'm drawing a blank on the word. I'm going to say analytics because we keep talking analytics. A lot of analysts got analytics on the brain. A lot of analysts are saying that this 49ers team is better than the Philadelphia Eagles is because if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, although they've won 10 games, they've won those by an average of 7 points. And they only have 3 wins by more than 7. You look at this San Francisco 49ers team, they've dominated some teams. Eagles haven't really had that big blowout. Well, the Niners have. In their 8 wins, they've won by an average of 20-plus points. Eagles 10 wins, an average of 7. 49ers, an average of 20-plus. 7 of those games, they've won by more than 7. Eagles have only won 3 by more than 7. So people are looking at the point differential and saying 49ers are a better team. But all that matters are W's. That's all that matters. Like I said, the Eagles don't need to win this football game. In fact, I think if the Philadelphia Eagles lose this game on Sunday, that almost makes it more likely that the Eagles win the Super Bowl. Because the 49ers are not coming into the link twice in one season and beating this Eagles team. But I still would love to see the Philadelphia Eagles dominate that game. But it won't be easy. Just listen to some of these guys on that team. We know 49ers have a stacked defensive line. They took one of our players from last year and put him on that defensive line. They got Javon Hargrave at that defensive tackle. Paid him a ton of money. You know how good Javon Hargrave is, how good he can be in that interior. So Jason Kelce will have his hands full. They also have Eric Armstead. They made the trade for Chase Young from the Washington Commanders, and they still have Nick Bosa. They have Randy Gregory coming off the bench. They have an extremely good defensive front, and they have one of the best linebackers in the league in Fred Warner. Dre Greenlaw's not bad either. Now, both of their safeties are going to be out. Hufanga and Odom, both are going to be out for this game. But that defense is very, very good for the 49ers. You look at the Niners defense, top 5 in the NFL in yards against. Best team in the league in points against at 15.5. And number 2 against the run. And I see Adam's exploit saying Javon Hargrave can't play the run. He can this year. When you got a linebacker like Fred Warner behind you, makes up for it a little bit. You saw Hargrave here in Philadelphia with TJ Edwards and Kazir White. And I like TJ Edwards, but he's not Fred Warner. His defense is very, very good. And it'll be an interesting battle. The one I'm looking forward to see is the red zone battle. Eagles got a top 5 red zone offense now. 49ers are 12th in the league in red zone. But we'll see what the Eagles can do in the red zone on Sunday, but that'll be a big key. But make sure you're following me because we're going to break down all these matchups as the week progresses. And then you look at that San Francisco offense. We know the playmakers on that team. Christian McCaffrey, stud. George Kittle, tight end, stud. Brandon Ayuk at wide receiver, having a great season. Deebo Samuel is Deebo Samuel. He could do a lot. He can line up in the slot. He can line up in the backfield. He can run the ball. Really good with yards after catch. And this Eagles defense has struggled this season. We went over those stats earlier. And we talked about how good Lane Johnson is as right tackle. Trent Williams at left tackle for the San Francisco 49ers, pretty damn good. And Brock Purdy, I don't put him on Jalen Hurts' level, but Brock Purdy is a lot better than what I thought he was going to be. So this should be a great matchup. San Francisco offense, top 3 in the NFL, and they have a top 5 defense in the NFL. So the Eagles will have their hands full, but they're going to be ready. And I love that the Eagles are underdogs in this game. I absolutely love it. But guys, like we end every single show with a little Eagles trivia. That was a big interception by James Bradbury in that game against the Buffalo Bills. And they haven't had as many interceptions this year as we would like. We'd like to see those takeaways get up there. Can go a long way to helping these defensive numbers. But it had me thinking, who has the most interceptions in Philadelphia Eagles history? And there are 3 people all tied with 34 career interceptions. And I see Frank Gallo with Eric Allen. That's one of them. But there are 2 more players tied with Eric Allen with 34 interceptions, the most in Eagles history. And while I give you guys some time in the chat to give me some answers here, just a reminder to make sure you are following at Bill Colarulo on Twitter, at Legal Hands to the Face on Instagram. We are going to be posting daily content leading up to the San Francisco 49ers game, breaking it all down. And check out the Philly Sports Power Hour right here on the JAKIB Sports Network. And I see more people checking in with some answers. Asante Samuel is actually number 10, which surprised me. He wasn't here very long, but he's number 10 with 23. Devin Owens says Brian Dawkins and Lito Shepherd. Well, Lito Shepherd is not in the top 10, but Brian Dawkins is correct. He also had 34 interceptions, tying Eric Allen. There is one more. Jason Sparks, it is not Avante Samuel. Frank Gallo says Troy Vincent. Troy Vincent is number 7 with 28. But my man Chuck Hutton got it. And so did Wine Niners Wine. Bill Bradley also with 34 interceptions. And you really have 3 generations here of players. Dawkins played from 96 to 08. Eric Allen played from 88 to 94. And Bill Bradley, 1969 to 1976. That is the answer. Those are your top 3. Coming in at number 4, only 1 interception behind them. Herm Edwards with 33. And then rounding out the top 5, Wes Hopkins with 30 interceptions. And I see some people saying Troy Vincent, he was number 7 with 28. And another big name, Asante Samuel, 10th with 23. But B-Dawk, Eric Allen, and Bill Bradley all have the record with 34 career interceptions. Guys, I appreciate all of you being here. Again, hit that like button. Make sure you're following me on all your favorite social media channels. We're not just on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Threads. We're on Twitter. We're obviously on YouTube and Facebook, where this is being played live. And if you want the audio, if you didn't catch the whole show, head on over to all your favorite podcast platforms. Search for the Legal Hands to the Face show, and the audio of this show will be uploaded every Tuesday morning after we air the show. Appreciate you all. Hit that like button, guys. As always, go Birds.
Go for the poles and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.